Jason had informed me that he's got some more information regarding the budget relationship between the proposed library board and the school board. If you'd like to review that, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So as the bill came out of the House, the members of the new library district boards would be appointed by the city governing body and the local school district respectively. And so when you have an appointed board that is also granted tax levy authority, as these library district boards are in the legislation, typically what happens is that tax levy is then directed through an elected local taxing board like the local school district board of education. And so that's why the legislation has the tax levy of the library district running through the local school district board, because the local school district board is an elected board with taxing authority. Now, as was pointed out in the last committee discussion, there isn't really a lot of oversight by the local school board, but apparently it makes people feel a little bit more comfortable with the taxing authority of the library district board that's appointed if their budget and their tax levy authority has to go through the local elected school district board. So that's the connection between the two boards there. Under the Senate amendments with an elected library district board, obviously you would no longer have that issue of granting taxing authority to an appointed board. It would be granting taxing authority to a locally elected board under the Senate version of 2176. So that's just a little context for you as you have that issue in front of you.
We have someone who wishes to speak.
Yes, please go ahead. I was making a note. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering, Jason, if you could also describe what the opportunities would be for the public if they were concerned about the tax that was levied.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, there is a provision in the two acts that the amount of the levy is to be levied and can be in each successive budget year unless a petition requesting an election, if there's an increase in the tax levy in excess of the current tax levy, and that petition is signed by at least 5% of the qualified voters of the taxing district, then there would be an election on that tax levy to be held. So there is an opportunity for the qualified voters of the taxing district if they get enough signatures on the petition.
Thank you, Senator. That was also a question I had. I think that is a kind of a backstop with the discussion we'd had the other day on whether or not this appointed board could adopt a budget that maybe was a little I don't want to say financially irresponsible, because they all have their needs and their wants, but you know, if the public felt like there was a budget that exceeded what they felt was reasonable, they do have that option to kind of backstop that. So I think with that information, House position would still be to hopefully remove the election requirement for the board, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we'll give that a little bit of thought here as we go through the process. It did, you know, the amendment on the floor did pass, but what I don't recall is, I don't think it was roll call. I think it was a voice vote, maybe. So, but I do appreciate that extra information. I think other than the tax issue, that's the Senate's position, I would like to introduce putting Senate Bill 529, which has to do with the organization of Dwayne Peasley Training Center District. They're kind of wanting to step up. In the past, they've been funded by, and Senator Francisco can correct me, but the city of Lawrence and Douglas County. And the way they want to set this up is that, you know, they would it would be a taxing district, just like this library district, but the people who are paying for it really wouldn't be paying more because the city and the county are already putting money into this organization. It did pass the House side overwhelmingly a few years ago. On our side, it's passed local government twice. It's passed Ways and Means. It's just always seems to be, can't get there above the line towards the end. As we've worked with them over the years, they have continued to make improvements on the bill. I think that satisfies their accountability and their structure and how things work. It's been a good tech school, and we have great testimony about how it's much needed in Lawrence and Douglas County for soft skills, and even the surrounding counties as well. So we would like to insert that into 2176.
And by doing that, does that remove the provisions from, was it Senate Bill 284? Is that, are we adding this, including everything? Yes.
Yes, and we'll have to do that in order to make sure we stay with, one subject.
Correct.
But we did do some research on that, and the money is in the budget. And so we may have to make a little bit of adjustments at omnibus for that, so they'll be taken care of. And I do need to check just on the policy piece. I think that's the policy piece is the reason why we had that discussion in the first place. Try to just make sure that policy piece gets passed next year, but we would be able to take care of them in the budget now.
Okay, yeah, because as soon as I got the conference committee assignment for 2176, the Blind Information Access Act. That's what I got the most emails on, so I wanted to make sure that if we pulled that provision out, they were fully taken care of.
Yeah, we feel the same way. We want to make sure that's fine, and we feel comfortable that they will be fine, and just finish it up next year with policy.
And I just want to go back to Senate Bill 529 for a moment. What I studied was correct. This isn't necessarily authorizing anything. This is similar to the library districts. This is allowing the people to vote on it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
at the next primary election or general election or special, I mean, they have all those opportunities to do that.
okay. I think the House is willing to accept that position, accepting 529 and then removing the amendment that was the contents of Senate Bill 284, I think.
Okay, so I guess we're back to that election piece. So if you just give us a couple minutes, please.
And Madam Chair, I don't know if this would sweeten the deal a little bit, but I would, as I read through the bill, I would like to add to that offer, if we could add some language in the bill. I think it specifies that the city appoints board members, and then the school district would appoint members, but it doesn't specify that those members have to be residents of the new tax district. If we could add some language there that just said whoever these board members were that were appointed, they had to be residents of that new district.
And I have a question about the one person, it says one has to be in the rural area, right?
Yes, I might have the revisor explain that a little bit more, but I think 4 could be within the city and then 1 had to be outside the city.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, under the appointment provisions for the new library district board members, 4 of those members would be appointed by the governing body of the city, and 1 of those 4 must reside outside the boundaries of the city. And then the other 3 members of the board would be appointed by the local board of education, and all 3 of those members would reside outside the boundaries of the city. So of the 7 members, 4 would be non-city residents and 3 would be city residents, would be the breakdown.
Okay, so I guess when it says outside of the city, what I'm trying to have a little bit of comfort that even though they're outside the city, they're in the district.
There's no express language that they would have to reside in this, in the taxing district, in the school district. And so I believe that's the conceptual amendment that the chairman has proposed, would be just to add that express provision in there that all 7 members be residents of the district, but then still have the appointment breakdown in terms of whether or not they resided in the city limits versus outside of the city.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that's a better summary of my own idea, so.
Okay, well, give us just a couple minutes. In light of the conceptual additions that you want to put in there, and then being reminded that there is opportunity for the people to protest, even if it just goes up $1, that provision is in there. We were trying to recall the vote on our floor, and it was a voice vote. You know how that goes. Not everybody's in the chamber and that type of thing. But I think with these other provisions and being appointed by elected officials, I think that we can accept your offers on this.
Okay, thank you. I think we all agree. We just want to make sure there's some accountability there, so.
And then we just all need to make sure we read the conference report before we go out there on the floor, make sure it's correct. So
Yes.
I don't think we have anything else.
Okay, yeah, I think that concludes anything that we have on our side, so it's been a pleasure and an honor working with you.
You too. Never have gotten to confer with the tax committee, so that's kind of fun. So anyway, thank you for your help, and we'll hope we get all this stuff moving forward.
Okay, is there anything from staff's standpoint that we need to clarify? Okay, all right.
All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you.